Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the week 3 video for academic writing. All right, in this week's video and in the materials that you'll find accompanying this video, and you should have them with you as you watch the video and follow along, because I do like to address the notes and try to explain them and give examples in a little bit more detail. So I hope you have the notes on writing theses or thesis statements. All right, we are going to dive a little bit deeper this week, as we will throughout the first 7 weeks of this course. Okay, we're going to keep adding information and knowledge and understanding to what it takes to become a better writer in general, and specifically an academic writer. And we're going to work towards writing some actual academic essays. Now remember, those essays will be written after the midterm. The first essay is a term essay, and it will take us a couple of weeks to write. We're going to follow a process. And then the second essay will be more of a test essay, and that will be your final exam. So we'll be writing 2 essays, but they will be in the second half of the semester. The first half of the semester, up until week 8 of the midterm, we'll be looking at some specific skills and concepts like we will today. So, like I said, today we'll be diving deeper into thesis or theses, plural, or thesis statements, all right? Which I hope you remember is the main idea of an essay. All right, now keep in mind our goal for this course in the term paper and in the final exam is to write a persuasive academic essay. All right, so keep that in mind. That helps to define what it is you're writing, and that's really helpful because in any kind of writing, you always want to just keep in the back of your mind, or even the front of your mind, depending on where you are in the writing process. Keep in mind what you are writing exactly. What is the form? Is it an essay? Keep in mind why you are writing. What is the purpose for your writing? And keep in mind the audience. Who are you writing to? Those will help you to keep focused and give you direction in your writing process so that you can have more successful outcomes with your writing. Okay, so again, in terms of definition, the term paper that we'll be writing and the final exam, the test essay, we will be writing a persuasive academic essay. So keep in mind what that means, all right? And also, because this is week 3, remember that we're trying to build on our understanding of concepts and skills. So in week 1, we discussed the use of academic language, all right? That's going to be important to today's lesson and to writing strong thesis or strong theses in the future as well, because to write a good, strong, convincing thesis statement, you have to have a good grasp of the language. You have to be able to choose the best words that really capture the ideas and the tone that you want to set for your essay. All right, so keep in mind just how important using academic language is. Also, last week, just to review, we talked about the definition of an essay and the form and structure of an essay too. Okay, that's also going to be important today in a little bit of an abstract way, but when we consider the structure and form of an essay, and we consider the thesis and its role in an essay, we remember that a thesis is the main idea of an essay. So the way that we structure an essay is going to be heavily influenced by exactly what our thesis is. Okay, so keep that in mind. There's going to be a relationship between our thesis statement and how we structure and develop our essay. And that really kind of brings me to a third point, something to consider as we consider theses and thesis statements today, and the relationship between the thesis and the rest of our essay, right? And what we need to consider there is in an essay we have a broad general topic which we narrow to a more specific thesis, and then we include evidence, examples, data, etc., that help to develop or prove our thesis as well. So there's a relationship there, especially between the thesis and the development. Okay, you might have a problem with your thesis, you might have a problem with your evidence, or you might just have a relationship problem between the two. So consider, for example, how big is your topic and how narrow is your thesis. Okay, so what is your scope? Are you covering your topic well enough, effectively? Okay, how narrow is your thesis? Okay, is it too narrow? And does that really kind of limit how you can develop your evidence in the body, right? Or is it too broad and general, and there's no strong connection between the evidence in the body and your thesis? And then, of course, how long is your thesis too? How much development do you need? How much development do you have? And how does that relate to the overall scope and specificity of your thesis as well? So, right, again, consider what we learned in week 1 with the importance of using academic language and how that applies to writing effective thesis statements. Consider the definition of an essay and the structure or form of an essay, and how the thesis is the main idea and it influences and controls everything that is included and every decision you make about your essay. Okay, and then throughout the writing process, consider the relationship of the thesis to the evidence. Does the thesis appropriately express the evidence and connect to that evidence in your essay? All right, so the relationship is important as well. Okay, and again, remember what it is we're writing: a persuasive academic essay. Okay, for both essays in this course, specifically for the term essay, because that is the first one we'll write, and that will be a long process for us. Okay, so let's go into the notes for this week. Again, we'll be dealing with thesis and thesis statements, and I hope you have them with you and you can read and follow along and make your own notes as you listen to this lecture as well. So, in general, we'll start with the definition. At the top of your notes, you'll see that, and it says, simply put, the thesis is the main idea of the essay. And a thesis statement is that idea captured in a sentence or two. All right, so keep that in mind. A thesis is just an idea. A thesis statement is taking that idea out of your mind and putting it into a grammatically complete statement. All right, it could be one sentence or two sentences, possibly three, depending on how complex your thesis is and how complex your essay in general is as well. All right, but any careful reader of an essay is expecting to find a clear, strong thesis, or specifically a thesis statement, a sentence or two, in the introduction of the essay. So remember last week when we talked about structure, when we talked about introductions, Okay, that first section of your essay, we're going to broach the broader topic and develop the mood, or sorry, the tone of how we're going to talk about our subject. But we need to narrow our subject and give any necessary background information and come to a strong, clear assertion, your main idea, your thesis. And if you do that in a sentence or two, we can call that a thesis statement. So whether it's captured in one specific sentence or not, every essay and every introduction to an essay should have a clear, strong thesis. All right. Now I say that because sometimes you might see essays where there's not exactly one particular sentence that you can underline and say that is obviously the thesis statement. But for our level of development as writers, I do recommend that you try to capture your main idea in a thesis statement. Okay, a strong, assertive, clear sentence or two that states the main idea of your essay. Okay, but no matter what, there should not be any mystery or surprise as to what the main idea of an essay is after a reader finishes reading the introduction. Okay, so keep that in mind. All right, that is a thesis or a thesis statement. All right, the main idea of the essay. Now, how can we talk about how to be successful? How can we be strong and clear? All right, so this note will just kind of focus on 3 points here. One, I've already mentioned. I mentioned it last week and I mentioned it today. A strong, clear thesis statement narrows your broader topic to a single, clear idea. Right? So your thesis statement is not going to be too vague or general. All right, think about this as an example. If you choose a broader topic of globalism, okay, the concept of globalism, and you say, there are some good points and bad points about globalism that I'll discuss in this essay. All right, good and bad, they're not very helpful words. They're not very descriptive. Okay, so think about the use of academic language. Be clear and precise. Good and bad, not very helpful, right? And then think about your thesis statement. Is that narrow enough? Okay, what do you truly want to say or need to say about globalism? Okay, if your thesis is just there are some good things and some bad things, that's not strong and effective. So continue thinking about your topic of globalism and continue thinking about the good and bad until you can say something that is more specific. Narrow that topic. Narrow your thinking down. All right? Narrow it to the point that, this is point number 2, it asserts something about your topic, conveying your purpose for writing and your opinion of the topic. All right, keep in mind here the use of that language, assert, all right, as a verb. That's a good, strong verb. You're saying something forcefully, strongly. Okay, and again, in this course, we're talking about a persuasive academic essay. So you are saying something, and then, of course, you need to develop that in the body, but you have to say something interesting about your topic. Now, for a persuasive essay too, this thesis is going to be an opinion. All right, but keep in mind what we talked about in the use of language here. All right, it is going to be objective and formal. Right, so you might say, well, there's a difference here between an opinion and objective, because an opinion is subjective. Aha, you're correct. However, our audience is going to expect that we are making an assertion that is based on a sincere understanding of our topic, which includes a lot of research and deep critical thinking. So we're going to follow the research that we've done and present our opinion based on an objective view of our topic. Okay, so we're going to say something that is specific, but it is going to be our opinion based on our intellectual honesty, our sincerity at having done a lot of research and becoming masters or experts of our topic as much as we can. And then also the objectivity can be developed, and our credibility in our opinion is going to be developed through, again, the language that we use being objective, and in the contents and development that we have in the body being the best evidence that we can find, the most trustworthy and credible evidence we can find, and presenting that in an intellectually honest and sincere way. All right. Again, we want to say something strongly and clearly, and express our purpose. Okay. So, for example, if we want to say something about a topic, I guess I said before, good and bad are not strong words. So find certain descriptions that are more effective. They don't hide what you're saying. Now, good and bad don't really hide it, but you get caught in between. In that case, I might recommend that you want to dive deeper, get more specific, maybe focus on the overall good of that topic or the overall bad of that topic. That might be a little bit deeper, a little bit more specific. And then you can say something and have more purpose, right? You say globalism, is an effective way for the world's economy to move forward in the technological age. All right, something like that. It's more interesting, it's more assertive, it's more focused. Okay, so that's going to be a better thesis than, globalism has its good points and its bad points. All right, and that sounds so uninteresting too, right? Okay, the third point to talk about with a thesis or a thesis statement specifically is that it often introduces the main points of the body as they appear in the body. All right. If you're going to have 3 body points, you're going to say, right, globalism is good because of X, Y, and Z. All right. Or globalism is an effective way to develop the world's economy in the technological age because of point 1, 2, 3. So this part here is really saying you should include in the introduction section in your thesis statement because of X, Y, and Z. All right, and when we read the body, it should be X, Y, Z in that order. Okay, so including those body points that you're going to develop in the body in the thesis statement, which is in your introduction, is very helpful and very commonly done, especially in academic essays. Right? It is helpful because it really it's in one statement, so you get that thesis statement, the main idea, which can sit clearly in the mind of the reader, and then introducing those body points in the order they appear in the body. It really helps to prepare the reader for what will come in the body. So that really helps to develop our coherence as a reader, our understanding of what you want to say and the purpose for your essay as well. All right, so keep those ideas in mind when you are writing a thesis statement. All right, it narrows your topic to a single idea, and it asserts something, it says something strongly about your topic, conveying your purpose for writing and your opinion, and it should include the three main points of your body in the order that they appear in that body. All right, now we'll focus on, in this class, a writing process for the term essay after the midterm. That means we're going to slowly, step by step, work through writing an essay. We're not just going to sit down and say, go and get it done quickly. We're going to take our time. We're going to do appropriate research. We're going to do appropriate planning. And then we're going to follow a drafting system and edit and improve the essays before we get to our final, polished, beautiful final draft. All right. However, at every step in the writing process, okay, and no matter what kind of essay you're writing, you should always have what we'll call a working thesis. All right. So even now, okay, we haven't even begun to write our term essay, but I have recommended that you start thinking about it. Okay, get the brain working. Think about possible topics for your term essay. Start doing some reading into those topics, and whatever information you have, whatever information you get, always keep in mind, what is your reaction to it, and what do you want to say, or what is that information telling you? All right. Keep a working thesis at all stages of the writing process. So in your mind, right, you have a thesis, which is a main idea. So no matter if you're just beginning to think about your topic, right, what do you think? What is your opinion of your topic? Okay. Right now, if you don't have a strong opinion, that's okay. But have an opinion. Okay. If you do a little bit more reading and thinking and discover all these wonderful ideas, maybe that'll change and influence your opinion, your thesis. So it might change, but no matter what, no matter how far you're in this process, have an idea and expect it to change throughout the writing process, through thinking about it and reading and research, through organizing and preparing to write an essay. Think about it through the actual writing. Okay, when you sit down and actually put all those ideas into organized sections and paragraphs of an essay, consider it when you're editing your essay as well. Okay, throughout the whole process, be open to your thesis changing. Again, keeping in mind the relationship of what is your main idea and what evidence do you have, and what evidence are you going to use to develop that essay in the body. All right, but always have a working thesis. All right, the rest of this, the notes in here, are going to talk about how to develop a thesis, or continue developing a working thesis throughout the writing process. And then they'll talk about how to really kind of judge whether you have a good, strong, clear, effective thesis or not. And there's a little exercise that I'll ask you to do at the end of the notes. All right, now, in this course, I think what we'll do is we'll have kind of two ways of coming up with a topic and a thesis. All right. So for our term essay, I'm going to ask you to choose a topic and develop your own thesis. But for the final exam, I'll give you a list of topics and you can choose from them. So this note will be helpful for both of the essays, the term essay that we'll be writing, the long one, beginning in week 8 or 9. Okay, and in that case, you will not be assigned a topic. But then in the end of the course, for the final exam, you will be assigned a topic. So the first note we'll look at here is how to generate a thesis statement if the topic is assigned. Okay, so that will be helpful to you when you're writing the final essay. All right, so when at the end of the semester you get your final exam topics, this can be helpful. All right, so when I give you a list of topics, think about how to come up with an essay, how to generate an essay, and think about how to generate that thesis. When a topic is assigned, it's usually fairly straightforward and fairly easy. The easiest way to come up with a thesis is to take a topic, right, a broad, general topic, which doesn't have an opinion, and change the topic into a question if it's not posed as a question already. Okay? So make the topic a question and then answer the question as clearly and strongly and specifically as you can. Your answer will give you at least a working thesis. It might not be a finished thesis. It might require more thought, and it might develop as you think about it and write it. But if you just change your topic into a question, you can get a thesis. All right. Take the simplest of things, right? Any topic in the world, right? Whatever the first thing that comes in your mind. All right. Coffee. Okay, that's just a random topic. All right. Remember, an essay you can write anything on, whether it's academic or not academic. But let's say, all right, I'm a very difficult teacher. I just give you one topic, coffee. Write an essay on coffee. You may say, oh, what can I say about coffee? Right? The first thing you do, change that into a question. Simple question is a good place to begin. Do I like coffee? Okay. Yes, I do. No, I don't. Right? That might be helpful if you're only writing a personal essay. Okay. Do I like coffee? Yes, I do. No, I don't. That would be okay. You can stop there maybe and just say, I love coffee, I hate coffee, here's why. Okay? But if you're writing something more sophisticated, more complicated, like you are required to in this course with an academic essay, we need to get deeper than that. All right? So do I like coffee? Yes, I do. Why do I like coffee? Okay, what do I know about coffee? All right? Just what do I know about coffee? That sounds a little bit more academic, right? And then whether you know nothing, you can start to define the topic and then start to research it. And the more you learn about coffee, you can get into the science of growing coffee and producing coffee. You get into the economics of coffee, financial side of things. You can look into the politics of coffee and the human rights issues or ethics that go into fair trade coffee as well. So you can go down these different paths. Again, keep in mind, what are you writing? Why are you writing? Who are you writing for? And you can keep asking yourself questions about your topic as you dive deeper and deeper, and you can be more assertive and have deeper opinions about something and find more convincing material to prove or disprove other opinions about that topic. All right. So when you have a topic assigned, the easiest thing to do, no matter what you know or don't know about a topic, is just begin with asking questions and see where those questions lead you. All right. Now, that again is more helpful, straightforward, in a straightforward way for the second essay, the final exam. But for our term essay, which begins in week 8 or week 9, but again, you should hopefully at least begin thinking about possible topics now, right? And do some reading. You'll be much more prepared for later. So, how to generate a thesis statement if the topic is not assigned, all right? Like your term essay. It's very similar, okay? In this situation, your job is to figure out what you'd like to write about. But again, start with what am I writing, why am I writing, who am I writing to? So you're writing an academic persuasive essay, all right? So choose a topic that you think is appropriately academic, all right? Your favorite movie, not academic, okay? Or my experience in grade school or grammar school. It's not appropriate academic. We don't want to talk about experience in that case. We want to focus on something objective, all right, with other developed ideas or opinions, and we can gather all that information and come up with our own fresh, unique perspectives and present objectively more information or developed information into that field of knowledge. Okay, that's going to be something that is more appropriately academic, all right? And we probably want to avoid certain like pseudosciences, all right? We don't really want to talk about, magic, okay? It's not appropriately academic. Nobody's really going to take the topic of magic seriously. Okay, unless you're talking about how, maybe doing a sociological perspective on people who do take magic seriously. All right, but then you're studying the people, not the subject itself, because that's not something that's scientifically held to be a serious topic. Right, so choose an appropriately academic topic. I'd probably recommend to you, many of you are studying in various fields. Right? Now for this essay, I don't want you just to go and get old topics that you wrote about before. I want something new and fresh. And I don't want a scientific report. I want an academic persuasive essay. So keep that in mind too. However, if you do have a lot of knowledge and interest in your major, okay, maybe you want to dig deeper and maybe you have something to say about that topic. And that would be an excellent place to start because you already have a lot of resources. You already have probably some opinions, and you can just continue following certain directions that your studies have already taken you before. All right? But again, keep in mind that a thesis doesn't always just jump into our head. Okay, so if you're thinking right now, oh my God, I've got a burden, what am I going to say? All right, that's a natural reaction many writers have. But as I said, keep in mind that at all stages of development, you're going to have a working thesis. All right, and the more you read and research and consider and write and rewrite and edit, it's possible that your thesis may change, okay? Keeping in mind the relationship of your thesis, the main idea for your essay that influences all the decisions you make on the essay, and that the content, the evidence, the examples, the explanation that you have, keep in mind the relationship between your thesis and your evidence there, okay? And how it changes throughout the process. All right, so if you look at your notes, it actually just takes you through this kind of these examples. It gives you an example of how your thesis may develop through the asking these different questions. So look at your notes on how that develops, and then hopefully we'll try a little exercise, and that's towards the end of your notes. It's an exercise on improving a weak thesis statement. So remember what we talked about at the beginning. A good, strong, effective thesis is going to narrow your topic to a single idea. It's going to assert something about your topic, conveying your purpose for writing and your opinion on the topic. And it should, especially in an academic essay, introduce the main points of your body in the order that they appear. Okay, so how can we judge, all right, especially if you are a developing writer with not a lot of experience in writing essays and writing thesis statements? How can we do that? How can we be successful? All right, well, to avoid a weak thesis statement and write a strong, effective, clear, precise thesis statement, we want to avoid certain problems. All right, so in your notes, there's 5 problems here. A little of them, they overlap a little bit, but let's explain a little bit about what makes for a weak thesis statement. All right, a weak thesis statement is one that makes no claim. Okay, that means it doesn't assert something. Okay, it doesn't say something strongly. Right? So, for example, if you just say, at the end of your introduction statement, this essay deals with the emerging growth in Korea's electric vehicle market or EV market. Okay? What does that say? Nothing. It just says this essay talks about this subject. It doesn't give an opinion. It doesn't tell us your purpose. It makes no claim. Therefore, it is a weak thesis statement, and you need to do better to write a stronger essay. If I see you in your essay have written, this essay writes about Korea's developing electronic vehicle market, I will give you a minus point for having a weak thesis there. I want something that's stronger and assertive and conveys your purpose. All right, so that doesn't make a claim. Now, you might make a claim, but number 2, you might just say something that is obviously true or really just a statement of fact, right? For example, you might say kimchi is Korea's representative food. All right, you're going to write an essay about that. Okay, you might be able to write an academic persuasive essay. You might get all these, statistics about how much kimchi is consumed in this country, how much is prepared, or how its influence is tied to the soft culture that is exported outside of Korea, around the world as well, and in kimchi's influence on global cuisine. You might have wonderful data to support that. But if your thesis is Korea is the representative food of Korea, I don't think many people are going to say, I disagree. Okay, you're not going to get a lot of pushback. I think that's an established fact, a well-established fact. So it's not really effective. It's not really interesting. It's an obviously true statement, or in some cases we can say it's a true, or it's a fact in that case. All right. So that's not interesting, and we want to avoid it. All right. Find something better to say. Something maybe more specific or narrower might be helpful. All right. Number 3 in our problems of weak thesis statements is a little bit similar. Okay, and that would be a weak thesis statement restates conventional wisdom. All right. So very similar along those lines. You might say keeping a strict sleep schedule is beneficial to one's health. All right, that's fairly obvious as well. It's conventional wisdom. It has the similar problems as number 2. It's not controversial. It doesn't develop much about the topic. All right, and there's very little we can say against that. All right, number 4, it says a weak thesis statement offers personal conviction as the basis for the claim. All right, it means that you're saying something that is just too subjective. All right, you know, you'd say, I swear that Korea's stock market will see incredible growth over the next 5 years. All right, we can't just make personal claims, again, especially if you're writing an academic persuasive essay. We need to be more objective in what we're talking about. All right, and number 5 here, your thesis statement is weak because it makes an overly broad claim. All right, again, going back to what some of the examples I've said before, we need to assert something, okay, and narrow it. So here it's overly broad, it's not narrow. Okay, so going back to what I said, you know, you might say there are good points or bad points about globalism. That's overly broad. All right, or you might say, you know, dieting presents both good qualities and bad qualities to dieters. It is too broad. Okay, you're not going to get the reader's attention or be able to develop your essay effectively because your scope, your view, your perspective is too broad. Okay, bring it in closer, bring it in tighter. Choose the right language that says something that conveys your purpose and your opinion in a more precise and narrower view or perspective, your scope. Okay, so those are kind of 5 problems for weak thesis statements. And in the notes, I've provided you with 5 example thesis statements here. We don't have the whole essay to look at, so it's a little bit difficult just to focus on improving thesis statements without getting full knowledge about the relationship of the content of the body, right, the evidence, the development, and the thesis statement itself. But just take a very kind of close look at the language and structure and the idea that is contained in these 5 weak thesis statements. So see if you can identify the problem. All right, is it a weak thesis statement because it makes no claim, because it's obviously true, because it restates conventional wisdom, because it offers a personal conviction as the basis for a claim, or because it makes an overly broad claim? So take a look at these, see if you can identify the problem, and also keeping in mind how to use academic language effectively, see if you can write strong, effective thesis statements. All right. Now remember, there is no perfect answer in how to write an effective thesis statement, but we can definitely improve these thesis statements. All right. And this is an exercise. So what's most important is that we try, okay, try our best. And to do that, again, keep in mind everything we studied so far, specifically how to use academic language effectively. All right, that's what we're trying to do over the first 7 or 8 weeks of this course. Learn new knowledge about writing, specifically using academic language and writing academic essays. Right? And trying to apply that knowledge so that we can use it even more effectively when we begin writing our own essays in the second half of the course. Okay, so good luck with this exercise. Apply your knowledge. Remember that there are no perfect answers, but I will provide you with possible solutions next week. All right. Now this is not a test or a quiz. You do not need to submit this. Okay. You don't need to send it to me. Just make your own notes, and then next week when I give you possible solutions, you can compare. And as always, if you have any questions about those possible answers or anything that I've discussed in this video or in past videos or in future videos, please always feel comfortable in contacting me. All right, take care, everybody. Thank you for paying attention to this video.